I want you to build up this layout on your own. You'll add one text view for the price header here, and then another text view to show $0. Also assign the second text view a view ID of price_text_view. The reason why I asked you to add an ID is because we're going to need to reference this view later so that we can update the price. And while you're at it, also make the style of these two text views similar to the quantity text views. In terms of vertical spacing, we also have 16 dp in between these views. In order for the price field to also update, we're going to need to make some changes to the main activity Java file. We'll give you a little more help with that. We're going to provide you with a new method that you can add in the main activity Java file. Open up the gist in the link provided in the instructor notes. By the way, a gist means a snippet or a short region of reusable code that you want to share with others. In this case, we went to the GitHub gist webpage and we created a new gist with this code that we wanted to give you, and now we can just share this link with you and you can get the code. For this snippet, we're going to select the whole thing and then copy it. Remember to include the comment up here, which is a note to the reader, and this closing brace down here. Now we're going to paste it in the main activity Java file. I love free code. Make sure that the braces still line up after you paste it. Braces are a pain, whether they're in your app or on your teeth. You can get a ton of errors if your braces don't line up. For example, if I paste this code block right down here, then I get an error saying class or interface expected. The reason is because this method is hanging out in the middle of nowhere. Really, we want it to be inside the main activity, between the opening and the closing braces of the main activity. So let's copy this and put it before the closing brace of the main activity. And that's better. Another potential error is if you forget to copy the closing brace and you just grab this top part of the method. In that case, you would get another error that says that the closing brace is expected. So you would need to add that back in. The other potential error you might run into is if you accidentally add the method right here. This is before the closing brace of the display method. So now this whole thing is inside the display method, which is not what we want. We want it to be beside the display method, right out here. You get the idea. There's a million combinations. You just want to be careful and make sure that your braces line up. Another good way to check is if you put your cursor right here, right after the opening brace, you can see that it highlights the closing brace that matches with it. Same here. If I click on this, the closing brace that matches with this is right here. Same for submit order method and on create method and even the main activity. This is the opening brace for the main activity and the closing brace is highlighted in blue all the way down here. Now, unfortunately, we still have another error here. If I look in the sidebar here, it says cannot resolve symbol number format. Number format is actually something provided by Android in order to help format numbers. In this case, we're trying to format the number, which is the price, so that it has the $ or whatever local currency you're using. We need to add an import statement for this because currently Android Studio can't recognize what this is. To resolve this, I'm going to show you how to turn on auto import. In the menu across the top of Android Studio, click on Android Studio Preferences. This opens up the preferences for Android Studio. There's a ton of preferences that I've never changed, but if you ever need something, I just search it using the search box. So I'm going to type in auto import. Now it shows the settings for automatically importing things in XML and Java. I want to check this box here that says add unambiguous imports on the fly. This phrase may not mean anything to you, but that's okay. This phrase probably sounds really confusing. All it's doing is telling Android Studio that it's okay to automatically add some additional lines of code in our app, specifically import statements, if it knows what we're referring to. Let me show you. Well, actually, it already did it for us. It assumed that when we said number format, we meant this one, and it was correct. So it solved the problem for us automatically, which is great. Okay, at this point, if you run the app, then when you click on the order button, then the quantity changes, but not the price. We need to modify the submit order method so that it updates the quantity as well as the price. So let's add another line of code. I'm going to call the display price method, and I'm going to say that the price is 2 cups of coffee times $5 each. The reason why our coffee is $5 each is because we've imported Arabica beans from Ethiopia. But anyways, we're going to let the device do the calculation for us because we have 2 cups of coffee at $5 each. By the way, when I refer to dollars in this lesson, feel free to swap it out for your own local currency. There's no dollar sign in this math expression. It gets added on later in the display price method. But don't worry about the details of the display price method. We're going to be going over that in lesson 3. For now, just focus on the math expression that you're going to use to calculate the price. Also remember the semicolon at the end of each statement. Otherwise, the semicolon monster is going to come and get you and give you a red error. For example, when you remove the semicolon, then you get an error that says the semicolon is expected. Oh, and to be extra clear, the semicolon key is this one right here. It's not the colon, it's a semicolon. Alright, so when you finished everything, you should have 2 more text views added for the price here. You should have modified the main activity to include the new method we gave you, and you would have also modified the submit order method to add a new line of code to display the price. When you run it on your device, it should look something like this. It starts off at 0 quantity for $0, and when you tap on it, there's now 2 coffees ordered for $10. Feel free to experiment with different values for quantity and price. If you want to charge $10 for a cup of coffee, you can go right ahead, but make sure you switch it back to 2 cups of coffee at $5 each so that it matches our code going forward. Check these boxes when you're done.